As an advanced product marketing manager, you want to be involved in the key junctures in the company that really catapult growth. One of those key junctures is going to be landing a large partnership, because that can really move the needle in terms of finances. But more generally, what you want to be involved in is the funding rounds. So pre-seed, Series A, Series D, going public. These are the moments when millions of dollars can flood into the business, and that's where you can add a lot of value. A lot of value that's going to be appreciated by the chief financial officer, the chief executive officer, and leadership abroad in the company. It's also the opportunity for you to get visibility in the PR front. So these funding rounds are key moments to really catapult the company in terms of publicity and get recognition among potential partners and potential customers and the wider market that you're trying to dominate. So one of the things that you need to keep in mind by getting involved in these investing rounds is that you need to tell investors what they want to hear. And I don't mean deceiving them. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying tricking them and just telling them whatever they want to hear. I'm saying focusing on what they're interested in hearing and highlighting those things without lying. So what are the things to focus on? Well, what you focus on is really going to depend on the stage of funding that you're at. And if you don't want to be a funded company and you want to bootstrap forever, then that's fine too. People have different ambitions and different tolerances for risk and different appreciations for how much control they want to have in the business. So I'm going to use this research from Christoph, who is a venture capitalist who's involved in some very, very successful companies like Zendesk, Clio, vertical SaaS company in Canada, highly, highly successful, Algolia, Typeform, etc. So this is someone who's been around the block. He's got a lot of credibility. And he says here, in the beginning, it's all about the team and getting to product market fit. Over time, the focus shifts to a repeatable sales model and healthy unit economics. And eventually, it's all about defensibility and the size of the market. So what Christoph is telling us is that what investors want to hear is really dependent upon the stage that you're at. So in the very beginning, it's putting faith in the people. Now, this might be a little bit counterintuitive. You might think as kind of a high-level macro-thinking product marketing manager that the focus should be on the data and the economics. But in reality, in the early stages and even in the mid stages, the team and the credibility of the individuals that are driving the company, the leadership, is one of the most important considerations. So let's look through some of this quantitative data where he's looking at what investors are looking for. So in the seed round, the leading theme is team. Okay, the individuals that are going to be running the company and creating value. The go-to-market is second, followed by the product, and then other variables that are less significant. But almost half of it is really about the team. So in your presentations, you need to spend a lot of time focusing on the biography of the team, the education of the team, the experience that they have at large, credible companies, at brand name companies they've launched before. That is how you're going to build credibility in the presentation. Now, as a product marketing manager, you're likely joining a company at a Series A or later stage. So here, again, we're still seeing team as the number one theme. It's not as dominant at the Series A stage, but it's still the most important thing. The next thing is the moat. So the moat is the competitive advantage. And if you want to learn more about moats, I suggest you look at Competition Demystified by Bruce Greenwald, who goes through extensive definitions of what a moat is. Because a moat is something that key investors like Warren Buffett talk a lot about, but don't necessarily go into a lot of detail on. And Bruce Greenwald really lays that out quite clearly. And I talk about it extensively in my other courses and books. Repeatable sales model, number 3. The total addressable market, TAM, number 6. So earlier in this course, I'm talking about how to size markets. So that starts to become more and more important as we're advancing through the investment rounds. And that's one of the reasons I highlighted in this course. All right, so why now? Customer references, product, dollar retention, growth, pipeline, sales efficiency. So still at Series A, it's about the team. The sustainable competitive advantage starts to become more important because the competition becomes more relevant. As you get bigger, you're going to be bumping up against people that are competing for market share. All right, now moving on to Series B. Okay, we're getting more serious with the money now. Hopefully we have a nice little sustainable business running. Now what becomes more important? Dollar retention and TAM. So the size of the market, much more important now that we're looking for Series B, because we're looking for a lot of money. And to justify a large investment, we need to prove that we're participating in a market that's large enough to be able to even eat up that amount of investment. Now, as we go after a large market, we need to be more concerned with competition. Okay, who else is trying to eat this market share, or who are we trying to steal market share from? And then we have growth, product, repeatable sales model, sales efficiency, user engagement. So just to kind of recap, in the seed round, focus on team. In the Series A, focus on team. Series B, focus on dollar retention and the total addressable market. Now, overall, if we look at his data summarized, we can see that the overriding factor is the team by far, followed by the TAM and the moat, the competitive advantage, which is about equal to the product itself. So you may be getting a lot of pressure in the presentations to emphasize the product a lot, but in reality, the team is likely going to dominate a lot of the presentation, even though it might seem like you're being a little too egocentric by talking about yourself. And by yourself, I mean the internal leaders in the company. That is what the investors are interested in hearing about. The size of the market's important, but you can see that it's more important than the product itself. They're more interested in how big is the market that we're going after, because that's what investors care about, is how much money can they make. Perhaps a little less interested in the technicalities of how the product works. So I just gave you an overview of what Christoph is saying. Now, if we look at Jason Lemkin, who's associated with SaaStr, Adobe Sign, and in some ways he's the voice of the software as a service industry. Some of the things that he mentions that you should highlight would be repeatable process, growing at outlier rates, so showing that you're growing faster than other companies in your industry or in your product category, growing smoothly, so having reliable growth, the CAC, customer acquisition cost, the customer lifetime value, your net promoter score, so customer satisfaction, other metrics like this, vision and charisma, social proof, such as endorsements from other investors, might set a precedent for other investors to join in, large, unique niche and explanation of why us, clear path to 100 million in average recurring revenue and beyond, a track record of execution, not just theory, but actually executing and getting things done, and having an easier time of it / breaking away from the pack. So one of the themes that Jason is pointing out is showing that you're exceptional. You're an outlier. You're breaking away from the pack. You are something exceptional, like a unicorn. That's one of the things he wants you to emphasize.